Good morning, dream flighters. Today is the day. Today we will show you how you make the star F. And I know a lot of people worked around it because it is such a challenge star. But today I will show you that a challenge maybe isn't a challenge. So just join me and I will show you what we do, because this is the star we are talking about. This is the star, that spiky star with that curve in the center. That is the one. And it's not this part of the star, but it's that little curve here and here. That is F2 and F5. And today I will show you what we are going to do with those 2 points. I will show you both points. So in fact it is a rehearsal of the first star. So let's join us and I will tell you what we do next. You have your cutting chart and you will find the cutting chart on the next page of the 5th month. And we will focus on this because this is F2 and F5. So here is everything what you see, what you have to cut. All the pieces are there and I already cut them. You can see here for F2 we have the fabrics all laid out. And all the fabrics are the same except for the final star points. That is the beautiful burgundy red. And you can see here the same colors except for the final point. That is fabric 3. But what do we do? Okay, remember that you always can go back to the first pages of your booklets to find out where you can find all the pieces. And you can see here they are. F13, it's on sheet 4, and F13 2A, I mentioned them specific in our booklet. It's sheet 4 and I already cut them, and here they are. F13 2 and F13 2A, they belong to each other, and it's the same with F13 5 and 5A. But before you start, you make a personal copy, and I really mean a personal copy. It is not a copy for your friend, it's not a copy for your guild, it's not a copy for your family. It is your personal copy, and it's just that you have a backup. And I think that is important. So, and even if you say, I'm a little bit hesitant to use my beautiful gorgeous fabrics, just use your copy and make them first from a little piece of your stash, just to be assured that you can do it. And I'm sure when you see how it works, maybe you even doesn't need a copy, but just in case. Shall we start? Okay. The moment is there. We will start sewing the piece, and I really hope that it works for me too, because it's a while ago when I made this. Okay, what we have: the rotary cutter, the cutting mat, the fabrics, the right sizes, the pencil for our marking, a sharp scissor. I hope we don't need it, but that's my best friend. And my pins, and of course the 2 templates. So always remember, there was that point. Remember that first foundation point. That fabric is always on top. So that means fabric 14 is on top of your dark blue fabric. So what we do here, we take the first pieces. Don't need this one yet. And if you do that, you place her in an offset position. And there's a reason for, because if you look at your star point, you can see the dark blue fabric 8, stops here. But fabric 14 goes all the way up, and you like to have a little bit of seam in the point. At least I like to have that. Okay, focus on the line between 1 and 2. You can see the little arrows. They are such a big help for you. So, take the piece and you place her in an offset position. If there's my point here, can you see it? And if I fold, I can have a little bit of seam, about 1/4 of an inch, and that's more than enough. If I fold it here, again, a beautiful 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And if you look at this point, you can see we do have enough fabric. So that's all we need. Okay. Change the stitch length in a 1.5. That is okay. 1.5, a beautiful sharp needle, the Microtex. And now we are planning the first stitching line. 1/4 of an inch away, always start with a little tiny back stitch. Remember, that is an essential part of it. Back stitch, stay on the line. Okay, and don't forget, even when we make a mistake, we have that backup copy, so don't worry. And back stitch. That is the first step. Nice. And finger press. Remember, you can put a lot of pressure between your two fingers and use your thumbnail. That is very nice to work with. Now we go to that one. Foundation point 3, and again it's fabric 8. You can see the arrows because now we will start from here all the way up to there. And again, take the piece, place her on the right side. There's the 1/4 inch seam. Take the piece. Did you saw what I did? When I started, I didn't start with my back stitch in the second seam allowance. Did you notice? You can go back now. I did my back stitch in a normal seam allowance, and there's a reason for, because at the end, when we have finished our entire circle and when it's a beautiful star, we cut off that second seam allowance. If I make all my back stitches in that second seam allowance, I will cut them off, and I have all open points. So when you do this, do your back stitch in this part and not there. It's a little tip. Okay, let's move on. Try to stay exactly on the line and do your back stitch. And now it's time that we cut off that fabric. I always use a large scissor. That is my little bit of waste. Okay. And again, finger press as best as you can. We like to have beautiful crisp points. Even here you can see that there's no extra fabric. If you do not finger press well, and I will show you what could happen, but that's of course not. This is what happened. The point is much shorter than you wanted to push all the fabric away and really do that. Okay. I first do number 5. Oh, I'm too scared. I do number 5 first. You have to wait. Okay, because we can do that for now. Not for the other one, but now we can. And again, right side facing up. Focus on the line. And the only thing you have to do to place her on the right side of the piece, 1/4 inch away. And I'm building up some tension. Okay. Oh, now I have to do that challenging point. Okay, the moment is there. And I think when we have finished that challenging point with that beautiful soft green swirly fabric, you say, that's all. Is that the point that I was afraid for? And again, finger press as best as you can. That is such an essential part in what we are doing. Okay. Now it is our time to get that piece. But how do we do that? Okay. Take your scissor. It could be a paper scissor. It could be a sewing scissor. It is such a tiny, soft fabric. I cut on the paper all the way up to that point. So it's not that line, but what I want is a stitching line. I want to know where I pin, and now I mark her. And when I mark her, I try to be as precise as I can. So this is an essential part of it. So I can see that is the final point here where my little tiny scissor is. Can you see that? That's a little tiny scissor. So what I do now, that is an essential, that is my point. Okay. Now I eyeball a 1/4 of an inch because I cannot use this, but I like to. You can measure it. I have my dotted line. There you can see. Can you show it to them, Bridget? You can see we do have the mark. That is exactly where our stitching line has to be. There is the curve with our beautiful 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That's the first step. Now we put this aside and we take the green fabric. Okay. The only thing I forgot is my Scotch tape. Okay. Pay attention to the straight grain of the fabrics. Okay. So, and now I cut her exactly on the line, on the curve, only on the curve. I leave the rest for what it is. I don't do anything with this or with that. It's, I would almost say, our second seam allowance. Makes it a little bit easier to work. Okay. Now I open the point. You can see, if we look through the paper, that there is the point. Okay. Now I measure my point. There's the mark. I can take her off. Okay. There's the mark. Okay. Some pins. Take this away. Take this away. Is this hard? No, I don't think it is hard. But now it is an important piece that we know how to pin it. Okay. There was the mark. Remember that I made a specific cross. Okay. My mark here has also that little cross. Remember? Okay. This is the little bit of the struggling of the convex and the concave curves. Makes it always a little bit harder. Just to stabilize her. And then you try to line her up as best as you can. And that's the reason why we make that little dash line here. Because if you rely on your paper edge, that is hard. Can you see why it was so important? to have that little marking line here. So this is what we have. We pin exactly on our dash line, and now we will stitch her. When we start, we will make a little back stitch here and then all the way, and we stop here at the end. Okay. What I do, I make a normal stitch length, because if it's not as perfect, this is not paper piecing, this is just regular stitching. So what I do my little back stitch, and I try to follow the lines. And you can see that we have a beautiful 1/4 of an inch seam there. And again, when it's not as perfect as we want it, it's not a big deal. We have a backup and we can do it again. So don't worry. My seam ripper is also a big help. She's a little bit, look at this, so we can make her better. It's inside the seam allowance, so the only thing I will do, I even do not backstitch. I just want to make the seam a little bit more beautiful. And sometimes it is easier without the pins. She's much better. And there's our curve. Look how beautiful she is. We're not there yet, but it's a very good attempt. Okay. My next step, I will finger press, because I do like to have the beautiful curve. Don't forget that. And now, our next step, we just close this. Now we go and we move on, because we have made this one, we have made that one, so now we go back to the little tiny blue stripe. Okay, so now we will start here with fabric 7, that is that beautiful blue, and it's foundation 0.6, because we already made this one. And the only thing you do, place her on the right side of the piece, stay away 1/4 of an inch from the edge. If I fold it, you can see there is everything, all the seams. I bring my speed back to 1.5. I start with my little tiny back stitch. And then suddenly, when we have attached foundation 0.6, you will see how beautiful that start point is. Okay. Now we cut this off. And there she is. The beautiful curve. Only one foundation point to go. Okay, that's the one. Right side facing up. And remember, you always can fold the points on the line between 6 and 7, so you can see where the point is going. And you can see that she is covered in the burgundy red fabric, so don't forget to do that, so you always have fabric in the end of your seam tip. Stay away a quarter of an inch away from the edge. Start with your back stitch. And there she is. We will press her. Oh, we have a beautiful curve. And as always, do not focus on the outside, but focus on the solid line. It makes it a lot easier when you trim. You can work even more precise because you can place your ruler exactly on top of it. Are you ready for the big reveal? There's our point. What do you think of it? Was it hard? Shall we do it another time? I can do it another time. I have so much confidence now. Okay, let's do F5.